So I've said on most of our shows, leave us comments, give us feedback. We do read the comments. We do take them very seriously and honestly, except for the one guy who keeps posting wannabe friends. I don't know what the hell that's
No, we don't.
about.
Delete that.
No,
Don't interact with it.
actually,
It's an attempt to hack your account.
I know. No, and yeah, no, we don't. So we did a story last, it was on 358. It was show 358. And so we put up the short 358.2, Tesla's South Australia battery is a major success. And Judge TK wrote us a very lengthy comment. And what it lacks in brevity, it more than compensates in incoherentness and typos. But I believe what he was driving at, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to be mean to our viewers. What he basically gets around to saying, you're pussyfooting around it, somehow like almost implying that we're part of like big energy, that we don't say anything bad about utilities, we only say positive things, we don't talk about where the money is, and then down towards the end, he literally says, "Grow a pair." And so I did read this whole thing, and my first thought was, you've never watched the show, have you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally, we take every opportunity we can to, we're not afraid to say anything because we're not beholden to anyone and we have nothing to be sued over. So, screw it. Yeah. So what I said was, okay, you want a rebuttal? Let's rebut. Florida's got some jackass fucked up laws when it comes to putting solar on your roof. There are countries around the world that if you try to put up solar, they will shut you down and tell you that it's illegal to live in your house.
Yep.
And this is true. And we have people, Casey, for example, who very much knows this firsthand. And I was kind of hoping Patrick would be on this week so he could talk about it as well. Yeah. But, I'm going to kick it over to Casey because you have firsthand experience.
Yep. So I bought my house in South Carolina with, it had 8 panels on it when we bought it. And when we moved in, it had 16 on it. I don't know how that happened. And then I added more, so it has 27 on it now. And I was charging all of my EVs up on it. And at some point, the power company came and said, "You've got 27 panels. We have 8 here." Despite the fact that the same company installed all of the panels, all 27 of them. And each time I could see a copy of their reports as they went in because for some reason I was registered as a solar installer myself, and I could see the filings come in on my account. And so all the paperwork was in, approved and everything. And they came back and said, "Yeah, you need to remove all the extra panels except for the original 8, or we're going to disconnect your power." And I'm like, at my cost. And I don't have batteries on the house, so that would have actually left me sitting in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane, and they can't say I didn't need the power because I still had a positive bill. Like I had to pay them when I was charging the cars. Occasionally, I would have.
And this was your home as a homeowner.
Yes.
And this was not the government. This was a private company telling you what you can't do on your own roof.
Right.
A government allowed monopoly.
A government allowed monopoly, yes.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not like they owed me a lot of money. Occasionally, I would have a negative $4 bill. I'm driving the biggest, baddest, fuel-thirstiest SUV electric on the planet. I mean, I went from 98 and 89 miles per gallon with the Volt and the Model S to I'm getting 84 miles per gallon equivalent with the Model S. It's they had no grounds to say I didn't have a use case for that power.
And then that's even stupid that they come at it and say you have they're questioning your use case for putting solar on your roof. I mean, again, it's a private company. Who are they to come in and question why you want to put that much solar on your roof?
Was this Duke Energy, Casey?
It was. I think it is now. It was SCE&G at the time, and now they belong to Virginia Power.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, Duke was the one I had before them. But
so they just cited some obscure regulation.
Right, but it's insane. I bought them with my money. It's not like I bought them on the power subsidy and I went over on the subsidy and I owe them some money. No, It's ridiculous. What I had planned to do was put some power walls on there and then curtail it. So that way, when it got to exactly 0, they would disconnect me from the grid. But I moved it.
Now it is sometimes that these utilities set a solar threshold up for everybody because they don't want you going above the 8 panels or whatever the amount is, because they're scared that the entire block will do what you did, and then they have a problem. They've got to have the transformer ability to take in that power. They've got to have the wiring set on the entire street properly. There may be infrastructure that they have to put in place. That's probably why they have a limit of 8. But it makes no sense that you hired them to put the panels up in the first place.
Right.
So I would have to say
it's not even like they had
on them, because they're the ones that were the installing utility at all times.
So it's not always a surprise to them. But here's the thing: all of that power that was excess, that wasn't going into my car, was going to my neighbors to run the air conditioner. This is South Carolina. It's not like it was chilly in the middle of the summer. And the next county over is exactly like Georgia said. They actually charge you a fee on top of your electric bill, on top of the excess generated. That's why the Powerwall even has the setting where you can, when you hit 0, it'll just unplug. Any excess you return to the grid in that county, the next county over, they charge you for it, which is insane. So you're paying a power bill, even though they're then taking the money, taking the electricity, reselling it, and making more money on it, which is fucking insane.
and that's the thing. The utilities these days, I mean, they make money on the entire transaction of everything in the electrical system, from producing the power, transmitting the power, selling it, delivering it, and they don't want you to come in and literally take stuff away. And like Mark said, they don't want everyone on the block now to start, technically, quote unquote, producing electricity.
But they could take my power and sell it to my neighbor for free.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing I can say is that with utilities acting in this type of manner, as Casey had mentioned, if he had a chance, he would cut them off completely and walk away with putting his own infrastructure in place. And I can't think of the number of businesses and individuals that are exactly on that same thought. All they have to do is get it to a little bit more cost competitiveness, or the utility pushes them a little bit harder, and the utility is going to find themselves without a lot of customers.
Yeah.
If the state law allows that.
Yeah, because that's the other problem. A lot of state laws will foreclose, or not foreclose, well, they could condemn your home if you don't have grid connection.
If you're not, for instance, in California, unless you have like a remote cabin, a genuinely remote cabin, you cannot be off grid with a residential structure. Yeah. That's just the law. Now, is that a good law? In some cases it is. In some cases it's stupid. But that's...
Well, antiquated.
That's the way here. I mean,
that's a good word, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's,
there's nothing stopping you from...
to be part of your municipal utilities commission, because I have sat through enough of those meetings myself. And if you have an opinion on this, you know where you need to be. You need to be in a seat at any meeting where they are trying to come up with the rules and regulations for your municipality, for because it's not just power. I can tell you about people for whom water collection could be fined. Yes. I know in some areas of Nevada, because the actual local government claims every drop of rain that can land and fall into the aquifer. And so if you have a rain barrel, you could be in violation of your local law.
Colorado,
you're literally stealing water from the aquifer.
Yep.
And again, there's always a few outlying fringe examples of like, well, that's a really good reason because this person was a crazy whack nut and shouldn't have been doing what they were doing. But most people do things reasonably.
Yeah, like Chuck on Better Call Saul. I could get that. Yeah. But I mean, if you have heat, cool, and your food is safe and you can cook and clean because you have freaking batteries, I mean, come on.
Right. And so in July of last year, the New York Times had an article, and they were talking about in Florida, and they were talking about Duke Energy, but a lot of what they said spans the entire utilities around the country in the United States. And they have a statement here that just says utilities will spend tens of millions of dollars a year lobbying with ad campaigns, political contributions. They do everything they can to sway the politicians and then sometimes even trying to undermine the mentality of the consumers themselves to convince them that doing solar or off-grid is a bad idea.
Florida tried to get a law put on the books where they called it like the defense of solar power or defense of sunlight or some shit like that, where if you voted yes, you were actually voting against being able to put solar power. And thankfully the voters all saw through it. I mean, that's the beauty of this new tech is that you can actually make your meter stand still. So if you must be connected, oh yeah, I'm connected. Here's your $4 a month to get the fuck off my property.
Right. For a time, I dealt with solar issues here in San Diego, home of San Diego Gas and Electric, SDG&E, one of the most rapacious utilities in the nation. Selling solar here is really easy if you've got a double-digit IQ, because the power rates are crazy here. But SDG&E would do the same thing to us. They would drag their feet. They would slow approvals down. If it had a battery system, it would take an extra 4 weeks to be inspected. Bob, I mean, and of course they're like, we support this. We want you to go solar. Ha 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 ha. And then they would lobby Sacramento to change the law for the next year so that they could charge worse net metering rates.
Yeah.
When I was, so I left a couple of years ago. Well, had my head cut off. And at that point, SDG&E was selling electricity for about 42 cents, unless you were like in the really extreme range. Oh, they could charge up to $1.80 a kilowatt.
Yikes!
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a beautiful scam, and it's still a beautiful scam. Anyway, so 42 cents an hour, their buyback. Okay, so on net metering 3, their buyback rate was about 3 to 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So they would buy back your excess electricity and then sell it back to you if you needed it.
So did they also do that timeshare scheme where they pay for the panels and then you pay extra for solar power, and then when you leave they keep the panels in a field somewhere?
I'm not sure, Casey. What?
Like the community solar where everybody buys into it. You don't really own it.
Yeah, I never dealt with any of that. I was all strictly residential, and we did, power purchase agreements and leases and all of that, and that's
that's on the edge.
Kind of scummy. And that's we don't need to go there, but the problem is, of course, you have government sanctioned monopolies controlling this stuff, and unless, as Georgia so aptly said, unless you're involved, you're just subject to whatever they decided to do.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
They count on that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that, we're not on the side of big utility. And as far as we're concerned, they can go kiss each other's ass because they're doing some very grand things. I just envisioned an elephant trail, but they're doing some really.
Do I need to step in here?
Yeah, they're doing some really fucked up things to keep this country from moving forward. As much as they talk about energy independence and, the United States needs to be energy independent, and that's just code word for drill more oil. True energy independence is allowing the individuals and the businesses, the municipalities, to put up their own solar, put up their own wind, to do the things that can generate at a micro level so that we don't have to manage these macro utilities that we have to worry about the grid going down. Yeah. If more people had solar on their house and we had a true mesh network, we would literally, like Casey said, be feeding our neighbors, and it would be seamless. But they get in the way of allowing us to progress to that level, and that just super sucks.